Hello friends, welcome back to the James Norwich Allcott channel. I hope you're doing very well this Monday. I hope you're going to have a great week. I know you are. Huh? Yeah? Correct. Let's dive into some big news. There's been so many managerial changes. I was away on holiday last week, so that's why I didn't react to Steven Gerrard and him getting that job, but maybe we can do it a little bit in this video because Dean Smith has taken charge of Norwich City. Now, before we dive into this, which is the statement from Norwich City and the general appointment of Dean Smith, maybe talk about the fact that they didn't go for Frank Lampard. It was those two who looked like they were in the running for this. And, of course, the fact that he's left Aston Villa and Steven Gerrard's come in. Have a look at this. And I know this is obvious, this isn't groundbreaking, but I think what's really interesting here is the fact that Norwich, Newcastle, Watford, Villa have all got rid of their managers now in this final international break and have got a new manager in charge straight off the bat. And it's going to be interesting to see how all of these guys do. The five. Of course, you've got Antonio Conte in there as well, a little bit higher up the league because they feel like Spurs were miles off, but that's another story. But it's interesting, isn't it? In previous years, we haven't seen all of them go. And what's also interesting is that Sean Dyche remains. He seems to have enough credit in the bank. And you've seen a bit of a change. Last 3 games, drawing 2, winning 1. But for the other 4, you've got new managers in there. And if you look at the 3 of them, so Dean Smith, of course, at Norwich City, Eddie Howe at Newcastle United, Claudio Ranieri at Watford, and Steven Gerrard at Aston Villa, they're all quite different. All very different, to be honest. Maybe you could say Eddie Howe and Dean Smith are quite similar in terms of the fact that they kind of made their way through the leagues. Claudio Ranieri's, much more laissez-faire in the way that he manages, and he's someone who will just let the players play just that little bit more. And of course, he's at the end of his managerial career. And then who am I missing? And then you've got Steven Gerrard, of course, who's had that one big pressure job at Rangers, but the competitive nature of the Premier League, you would imagine, is a step up. That's why he's left a ginormous club in Rangers to go and even manage Aston Villa. So it's interesting. Now back to Dean Smith. Let's have a look at the news of his announcement. So he's been announced as head coach, and I think in this statement there's a few interesting elements here. Now, first of all, I like Dean Smith. I think I made that obvious. I didn't feel like he should have been sacked by Aston Villa last week. And what I think with this, first and foremost, is this is a great appointment. This is a great appointment just because of the dexterity, I guess, or the flexibility of Dean Smith's journey in terms of being in the Championship and doing well there, be it for Brentford, even in League One with Walsall, and, of course, Aston Villa as well. But also for a team that is, highly likely to go down at this moment in time. And you have to be realistic with your choices when you make those kind of moves. And that's why I think he was the right call ahead of Frank Lampard. But also in terms of his fit for this club right now in an attempt to keep them up in this division, and also the team around him. It feels like that was a really big part of this for Stuart Webber, who is the main man when it comes to Norwich. And their relationship, the ability for Dean Smith to work with a sporting director, which he's done so at Brentford. He did so at Aston Villa as well. So it's something he's going to be comfortable with. Delighted to appoint Dean Smith. Dean Smith's put pen to paper on a 2.5-year deal. We'll be joined Norfolk by assistant head coach Craig Shakespeare. Now, I think that's a massive part of this deal. Now, they need to play different for me. I saw their last game against Brentford. It was a really poor win. I've got to be honest. It wasn't a good win, and that's why he lost his job prior to it, and actually even just getting a victory didn't save Daniel Farke's skin. What I think is really, really interesting here is what Stuart Webber says a little bit further down. Now, there's discussion about, the usual pleasantries of Norwich City are a big club, blah, blah, blah. But what I think is interesting from Stuart Webber here, right at the bottom, in Craig Shakespeare, we have secured an assistant head coach with an outstanding reputation and vast experience within the game. We are delighted that Craig has agreed to join our new team. I think that's huge. The reason I think that's huge is for a couple of reasons. First of all, it just shows how important the entire team is for a football club right now. There is this idea that, of course the manager has to have that gravitas to lead a bunch of men. But the team around them is really, really important as well. And Craig Shakespeare has so much experience as an assistant manager, of course, he was manager for Leicester City. Management in the Premier League, he's been all over the place. And in terms of keeping a team up, what I think we've seen from Norwich over the last 5 years is a team with like great endeavour, but not much nous. Needing a bit more nastiness, certainly in the Premier League when they've been going up the last couple of times. And watching that team, they just about hung on against Brentford. And moving on, they're going to have to hang in there again. And I think what Dean Smith and, importantly, Craig Shakespeare offer is experience of keeping a team up in the Premier League. Now, no one is giving Norwich City a chance. No one gave Norwich City a chance. But what's really interesting to me now is that you almost have like a clean slate with these new managers in these roles. And it's like, okay, what can you get out of these guys now? I was reading an article about Ian Holloway was talking about the first 90 days of your tenure as a manager is so important because you'll have players who would run for a brick wall for the old manager, and then you've got a whole host of players that were kind of frozen out or not getting the opportunities that they wanted who are excited. And you've got to kind of mould those two together. And I think generally all of these teams, I guess the only one that you maybe could say that you might not get a backlash, but you might not get the response that you would want is Aston Villa and Steven Gerrard. Now, again, some people and Aston Villa fans might be watching this, and if you are, let me know how you feel about this. I think sacking Dean Smith was the wrong decision because I think he'd earned the right to continue with that club and hadn't put his strongest team out and had lost an irreplaceable player in Jack Grealish and had developed all of the players that had been there for quite a few seasons. That said, they had lost 5 on the bounce, and I think as much as sometimes it's a bit like Spurs, it's about one giving an opportunity to one guy, but if you've got a guy who you believe has a higher ceiling, then you pull the trigger anyway, and you're just looking for a way out of that. Again, I think Dean Smith, because of his demeanour, because of the fact that he's English and didn't play for Liverpool or for Man United or any of those teams, I think he's completely underrated. But Steven Gerrard could easily get a great response from this Aston Villa side with those players coming back. And I also think the thing that needs to be remembered with all of these, and I think we're seeing it in so many different teams, is yes, you have to have that guy who's incredibly smart and can lead the way, but you have to have a great team as well. The thing that excites me about Aston Villa isn't Steven Gerrard. I like Steven Gerrard as a manager. I think he's a great mouthpiece because he has high standards. But what I really like is Michael Beale. I think Michael Beale is an incredible coach. I think for everything I've read, watched seminars on him, talking about what he thinks is important in a football team, I think that voice will be really, really beneficial to this Aston Villa team and an Aston Villa club that is pretty well run, to be honest. Let's be fair, as is this Norwich City side. So when it comes to Dean Smith in this role, I think this is a great appointment because of the backup of Craig Shakespeare, and the pair of them together will get this team maybe playing in a more defensive style. I think what happened, if you remember, when he went up with Aston Villa, they struggled. They struggled massively, and they were so reliant on Jack Grealish. They kind of went away, and they came back after COVID, or the break of COVID, and tweaked the way that they played. And I wonder if some of those elements will be brought into how Norwich City play, where they defend a little bit deeper, they make sure they're organised and set up right, and then look to sneak goals on the counter-attack and utilise the decent players that they've got further up the field. Daniel Farke was trying to do a similar thing. He was just doing it quite poorly because I don't think it's actually how he wants to play. Dean Smith has a bit more experience in that form of football. He understands what's needed to grind out results and grind out points. And ultimately, if we have one final look at it, Norwich need a lot of points. Norwich need 32 points to survive. So they've got to do something very, very special. And for them to stay up, I'd be massively surprised. And I hope that Dean Smith's reputation isn't hurt by that, because I don't think it will be down to him. I think it'll be down to the fact that the quality in the squad's maybe just not there, especially when you've kind of engaged the turbo boost of Newcastle United new manager, Watford new manager, Aston Villa new manager. It's going to be interesting down the bottom there. Who are the bottom 3 teams at the end of this season? Let me know in the comments below, because I think keep an eye out for Brentford there, because I think they've got a lot of injuries at the moment and they're struggling with them. They're one of those teams that's going to stick with their manager, so won't get that little turbo boost that we're talking about. And I guess that's always the question as well, is it worth the turbo boost in the long run? We will see when it comes to Aston Villa. I think, look, if you're an Aston Villa fan, I think you should enjoy it and be excited about Steven Gerrard. I think I could see that with the reaction. There was a disappointment about Dean Smith, of course, but really, to have someone like Steven Gerrard at the club with the group that he brings with him, I must stress that, because I think with the people that he's able to bring across with him, that's going to be huge for Aston Villa. But it's going to be interesting down the bottom there. I think this is one of the most competitive Premier Leagues we've ever had. And you've got so many interesting storylines there. Newcastle obviously going to spend a lot. Aston Villa are not expecting to be down there. You wouldn't expect them to be down there. So who gets sucked down? Crystal Palace have had a good season so far and are flying. Wolves look reinvigorated. Brighton are up there at the moment. Arsenal doing bits as well after a shaky start. So it's exciting. It's exciting times for them, and it's an interesting time for Norwich. But I think this is the best chance you've got at staying up with the squad that you've got, is to have a manager who's been there and done it. And if you do go down, you will, again, be one of the favourites to go back up again. So Norwich City fans, let me know what you're thinking when it comes to this. Anyone who wants to hear more about Norwich City, go check out Talk Norwich City. It's a wonderful YouTube channel. Jack and Chris do a great job on it, so go and check them out. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you're new and if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.